5, 6, 7, 8.
Ring, ring. It's our besties.
Ring, ring.
Calling about season 7. Oh,
Ring,
I can't wait to hear what they
ring.
have to say. Okay,
I
here
guess
we
it's like this
go.
now.
You're right. It is. But I still do this.
Me too.
Anyway. All right. Here we go. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Gilmore to Consider with Tara and Haley. I'm Tara. This is Haley. Hi, Haley.
Hi, Tara.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's a morning record.
I have my coffee.
I have my matcha. I'm actually wearing my pajamas. We're doing, if you couldn't tell, we're
just
recording
noticed
this
that
morning.
when you were doing the intro.
Yeah. I'm wearing the pajamas that Haley bought me that I got when I was down in Georgia with her a couple weeks ago. And I love them. They're fun.
Really cute.
They're my
Can
little
I tell
bridal
you?
PJs.
So for our besties at home, you'll recognize next week when we talk about this, but we are recording this week's episode after next week's episode.
It's just so weird of us.
Who
I don't know why
decided
we
that
did that.
past us?
Yeah.
I don't
know why.
It really was, I realized, because we, as of y'all listening to this today, we had a dark week last week because we had a little week off. We really don't take weeks off.
We don't.
And so we wanted to slot in a little fit in a record so we didn't have to record last week, and I realized that was why. But in that episode I wanted to wear my August shirt.
Oh yeah.
So I wore it today.
I love it.
It says August slipped into a moment in time.
Oh, that makes sense.
I couldn't remember in next week's episode what it said.
Yeah. We were like,
so
hope of it all. What does it say?
So you guys know more than next week us, which was yesterday us. But what are you going to do?
The mental gymnastics there is just so good.
So good.
But yeah, we're recording in the morning because I have work later. Haley is about to go away for the week that we're taking off, which will have happened last week when you're listening to this. Again, the mental gymnastics of it all is so funny. But we're here today to do a little Gilmore to Consider on season 7. And we decided to have a little breakfast recording. So if you're eating breakfast...
Hey.
You're eating breakfast with us.
Or if you're eating dinner, maybe you could have breakfast for dinner.
Yeah, pancakes for dinner.
Oh, fun.
Love that.
I always love that.
Yeah, me too. My dad used to do that. Especially when my mom was at home.
That's such a dad thing.
It's such a dad thing to be like, you want pancakes? I'm like, is that because that's the only thing you know how to make?
Or eggs.
Or eggs. No, actually, my dad is a really good cook. My mom, she would say this too. I'm not talking shit. She's not a good cook, famously.
Jeannie? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no.
I'm shocked.
No. Great baker. Terrible cook.
Is it because Elder Jean's a great cook?
She's a good cook, yeah.
Yeah.
But my mom is a great baker, has never really been into cooking. She can make some good stuff.
My mom is not really about cooking. I think that's why I love to cook so much.
Oh, yeah. That makes
whenever
sense.
she sees recipes on Instagram, she doesn't save them. She messages them to me.
Oh, I love that.
And one time I got 6 in a row. I was like, are you hungry or are you sad with what I've been making lately?
Yeah, exactly. Could be both.
Could be both. Who is to say? Kathy is to say.
That's true. Kathy is to say.
Before we get into it, I did want to mention, if you are Atlanta based or in the nearby area, next week I will be in conversation with Ashley Jordan, who wrote Once Upon a Time in Dollywood, and I am obsessed with this book.
Yeah, I know. Haley was telling me yesterday, she's so excited about this book.
It's so well written.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that as you're reading it, you're like, this is her debut. I cannot wait to see what comes from her, because this book is just fantastic. And I was telling Tara that I feel like the two main characters are if you pulled Lorelai apart into two different people and had kind of that resentfulness of her family and some of the things that have gone on in her past and kind of altered it just a little bit, and then had that really community forward, friendly, bubbly person, and had those two people date each other. That's kind of what this book is set in Tennessee, and it's just I'm loving it. So if you're in Atlanta, it's at All the Tropes bookstore. It's a romance bookstore, so I'll be there. Mandy's coming up for it. I'm really excited. I'm just excited to talk to Ashley, get to know her more. She's also going to be on the podcast later next month after. I'm not sure of the editing schedule for that, but she will be there and we'll be talking about it. So I'm super excited.
Yay.
So in our show notes, we'll have links to tickets, but I'm just really excited. I think it's going to be a really fun time. Just all the romance book girlies all in one place. What could be better?
Exactly. I wish I could go. It sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun.
It will be. Cal will be there.
I know. I'm so jealous.
Yeah.
I'm so
You can't
jealous.
even read, much like you.
Much like me. We have that in common. Anyway, we actually hilariously decided during our episode that we recorded yesterday that's going up next week. That
you guys will know a lot more going into next week's episode than we ever
will. But our next week's episode is a what if episode, but we started out by talking about how we would rewrite season 7 because we, of course, noted that as we went through season 7. So we actually ended up not having time to read off these what ifs by the end of the episode. So we're going to start this
we
episode
spent so much time talking about everything we'd want to rewrite.
And I had a feeling that was going to happen.
Everything.
As we started, I was like, oh, this is going to take forever because all we do is yap.
Well, yeah. And like, there was just so many things. And I was laying in bed last night remembering more things that I wanted to rewrite. And I had
a feeling we would need to do another episode about it, like really diving in and rewriting, because we get specific next week.
We get specific, yeah.
General as well. Like there are ways we could have gone even deeper.
Oh, well, because I mentioned the whole thing about like rewriting Logan's whole storyline in season 7. And I was like, okay, I kind of want to do like a full fan fiction episode of like rewriting Logan
in season 7.
Yeah.
I think the girlies would love.
I think the girlies are me.
Especially, I think that I am the girlies. I think that Logan girlies would rise for that because
I hope so. Even like non-Logan girlies, because like I think that like if I was not a Logan girly watching season 7, I'd be like, this man,
yeah,
girl, let's talk.
This guy, yeah, exactly.
Because you guys never do.
Because you don't. So before we get into a couple of voicemails, which I'm excited to play for you, I wanted to get into some of the what ifs that our besties left for us in our question box on Instagram.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try to go in chronological order because I think that would be nice. It kind of mirrors what we do next week because we go episode by episode.
Yeah.
This one really made me laugh. Hattie said, what if instead of running to Christopher, Lorelai went to Jason? I bet he had some crazy kinks. I was like, oh, wow. You really did. You really said that.
Oh, my. I don't think that was why she ran to him. I like can't imagine he's particularly, I don't know. When I think of Chris, I'm not thinking particularly skilled in the bedroom. I'm thinking more of like familiar. But if that
Chris
was
or Jason,
Chris, you know, it's kind of like one of those like nice guys finish last. I don't think he subscribes to that. But
I don't know that I agree with that.
Really?
I feel like Chris is just like really good at what he does. I don't know why.
See, I feel like he would be like a familiar sort of person to be with, and like it's probably very easy for them to be get together because they know each other. Have
chemistry.
But otherwise, and I don't know that Sherry was having a great time. This turned into something entirely different, but
I'm dead. I'm dying. Okay, keep going.
But Jason, if we're focusing on the Jason part of it, I don't know that it's serving I don't know that it's serving anything to the story for it to happen. And maybe it doesn't need to. Maybe it's just the idea of like, she slept with someone else and threw everything out the window.
But do you think that it would have felt like as big a betrayal? Because it's clear that Luke feels like this is a betrayal when it happens. When she tells him.
Well, yeah, because it's Christopher.
Yes.
He freaked out when he left a voicemail at the house.
Correct. So do you think that somebody else, it would have felt a little bit more, I don't know, forgivable is not the word I want to use, but
it's hard to say.
Painful?
Because like, I don't think that for Rory it was less painful because she didn't know these people. Like they were just like old flings of Logan's that he slept with, and like it was like they didn't mean anything to him, and that was almost worse. That like you were just flitting around with these women,
right?
When it comes to Lorelai, it feels like it didn't mean anything. Okay. That's almost just as bad as it meaning something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Totally.
It wasn't premeditated. It wasn't like before their relationship ended. She went to him. But I don't know. I'm trying to think of what like it would come too with Jason. I'm imagining Luke walking up to Jason's door, punching Jason.
Knock, knock. Yeah.
And he'd be like, Duke? Duke came and punched me.
No, it had to be Christopher if this was going to be the storyline. And I know we're kind of, it's like end of season 6, but it really, translates to the beginning of season 7 that we're discussing here.
It translates to what we know season 7 to be.
Right.
Because that was the final act of Amy Sherman Palladino was doing that, and we don't know what her intention with it was. We know her intention ultimately was to have him kind of estranged from the Gilmore Girls.
Yeah.
Because that's what we saw in the revival. So we can only imagine that that's where that was headed. But yeah, I think it had to be Chris, but I'm just trying to think of what if it was Jason. I don't know that anything really would have come from it. I don't think that was a relationship she was going to revisit. I could have seen a friendship blooming from it. I know that they were friends.
I do think that the trajectory of season 7 would have shifted, because then we wouldn't have seen this alternative romance, much less a marriage. I don't think we would have, because we already saw the relationship between Jason and Lorelai play out. We didn't need to see it again. We never saw the relationship between Chris and Lorelai play out, and I think that's why they pulled at that thread.
Yeah, they could put it back though.
They could just
just sew it right back in.
Yeah.
But with Jason, I feel like maybe he would have pushed her more in wanting to get to the root of why she came to see him, because Chris kind of accepts that she's not going to say anything. That she gets really snappy with him when she's leaving, and I think that Jason maybe would have accepted that, but pushed a little harder and been like, "What's going on?"
Yeah, that's fair.
And I think that he would have been maybe more of a friend. Maybe Jason was her kinky confidant, according to our bestie.
According to Hattie, yeah, maybe so. All right, this is a 2-parter that I'm going to kind of mold into one.
Okay. What
if Lorelai went with Luke and they eloped? And what if Lorelai didn't tell Luke about Christopher?
Ooh.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, worse than not telling him that Christopher and her drank tequila.
Oh. Infinitely.
Infinitely worse.
Because she technically didn't do anything wrong with the first one.
Yeah, she just was.
And I guess she didn't do anything wrong in the second one. It's just more hurtful. It's more of a betrayal.
She definitely did something wrong. You're telling me if you kind of break up for the evening, you go sleep with someone else, and then someone shows up the next morning to elope, and you're like, okay.
No. I'm saying that her sleeping with Christopher inherently, and she and Luke were broken up. From my vantage point, that technically wasn't cheating. You know what I'm saying? But obviously, she didn't tell him. Yes, I'm just saying that with the tequila, she wasn't doing anything wrong.
No. That one. There was nothing wrong. It was just she kept it from him.
It was that she kept it from him.
The sleeping with Chris,
sleeping with him, I don't love it. But we've talked about before on the podcast that it's not cheating. She and Luke were broken up.
In the what if circumstances, it's cheating for sure. Because the idea that they kind of broke up for the evening. She went up with Chris, and then she marries him.
No, it gives Ross and Rachel 100%.
The next day, yeah. Just
no, I'm so with you on that front.
That's what I was like. I thought that's what you were saying.
No,
you're
no.
It's inherently not bad.
No. I just meant isolating the circumstances.
Okay. Yes. But in the reality of the show.
Yeah, in the reality of the show. Yes. Bad.
I was 2 steps ahead, and I thought you were no, inherently it's not bad to sleep with the father of your daughter's child the night before you go get married with your boyfriend.
Oh my God.
Fiance. No. I think that they would never end up together. I think it would be the sort of thing where that is too deep of a betrayal in my opinion.
God. I just think it would make Lorelai the villain.
Yeah. I don't want her to be the villain. I like her.
I love her.
I love Lorelai. I like her in season 7 too. It's hard to dislike her in season 7.
I also loved Lorelai in season 7. I didn't love all of the choices she made, but she still, in a lot of ways, still felt like her. In talking about how everybody was kind of like a caricature of themselves, Lauren did a really good job at rooting the character as much as she could. But
and I think that her choices that she made, while at times I was maybe wouldn't have made those same choices. I think she was always making a choice for trying to like make the best of the situation.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
That like, I don't think she ever did anything to Chris that was like purposefully harmful.
No, not at all. I think she had the best of intentions every time.
And I think that sometimes she recognized the reality of her relationship. Like she was like, sometimes it's better to lie. And it's like, no, I mean, it's not. But like, I also know your husband.
Better to lie about what?
Yeah, she didn't tell him about the custody battle.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
the letter. The
letter.
Character reference.
Yeah.
The recommendation letter, as I called it.
The recommendation letter.
I recommend you as a father. But yeah, if she hadn't told him, I just like don't. I see them getting divorced.
100%.
And then Gilmore Girls ends kind of sad.
Yeah.
As if it didn't end kind of sad.
I don't know that they'd ever be able to get past that.
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't either.
I wouldn't. Not if I was in that situation. Me being like, for my love of Lorelai.
Yeah.
It's already Rory past Dean. Like I got past that.
Yeah. Different.
But I have had seasons to get past it.
Yeah.
Like she made so many worse decisions. Maybe not worse. Equally as bad.
Yeah,
that
that's
I just
fair.
kind of was like, throw that one away.
Yeah. I just think that the way that it played out, I mean, her honesty, she needed to be honest about that. And I know that part of the reason she told him was to get him. I don't think she wanted to tell him.
No, she wanted him to leave.
She just wanted him to leave and stop asking her. Which is
because he says something along the lines of like, my life doesn't make sense unless you're in it. She's like, I slept with Chris. Because what if it was
Logan.
I like Logan worse.
Like mother, like daughter.
But like she didn't even like Chris. Just she slept with them. But if the response would have been, my life doesn't even make sense without you in it, I think that's the line. It's at least most of the line. If she'd have been like, okay, let me go change out of my jammies. I think she had her pajamas on. And they go to Maryland. And what if it just never came up? No one ever said anything about it, ever. And it just was something that we had to hold tension with Lorelai for the whole season.
Oof. I don't know how I would feel about that. I truly don't.
And
I don't know how I would feel. Up. And it never came up and she never told him. She would not
Chris
be able to do that.
got hit by a car and he died.
Oh. Someone actually put that in the what ifs. They were like,
really?
What if Chris got in a car accident and died? Sorry, I had to say it.
No, okay. But that's the thing is like, one can keep a secret or like two can keep a secret if one of us is dead. Pretty Little Liars.
Pretty Little Liars.
So
I don't think that the character of Lorelai would be able to like shoulder that guilt.
No.
I just don't think so.
Entering Pretty Little Liars territory.
Yeah, exactly. But all in all, she needed to tell him. I think it would have been really tough to see her not tell him or like tell him on the way to Maryland something.
Can you
like,
imagine the windows are down, her hair is blowing. I slept with Chris. You what? The wind's loud. It sounded like you slept with Chris. I did.
It's true. Yeah.
Do you think we could stop over here?
Yeah. Do you want to pull over, talk about it? Because we famously don't have conversations in the car.
Get out, kick the tires.
Yeah, no, I think that it unfortunately happened the way that it was meant to happen.
And I like that it happened like immediately. So we had like plenty of time. Like we had 22 episodes to get over it.
It's true. And again, like, you know, what Lorelai did was her choice. It feels like a betrayal. You know, I would feel betrayed if like, oh my God, I don't even want to think about this. But if like, if Brett and I got into like a huge fight and for whatever reason, it was just like, okay, like then we're done. And he went and slept with one of his exes.
He went and slept with Christopher.
Yeah. And he went and slept with Christopher. I don't know if I'd be able to, I don't know how I would move through that. Like,
well, you would probably marry someone else and then get divorced and then come back to him.
Maybe. I don't want to think about that.
That's what Lorelai did.
That's true. But Lorelai,
oh my
Brett
God,
would be
you have
Lorelai
to marry
in
one
this
of your
situation.
exes.
Brett
is Lorelai. You're Luke. Okay, so you got to date
I'm
a
just
swim
mad,
coach
and I got to deal with somebody driving a car through my podcast.
It was probably me. I hate driving. No, but then you'd have to date a swim coach and go through a custody battle and then help him buy a car.
And then we'd make up.
Yeah.
And then we just kiss in the
street.
street.
And then he'd make a tent, or you would make a tent for his daughter.
Wow, we both have daughters in this situation.
I know. And so there's weird. Only one Luna, so.
Yeah, that's true. That's so true. Anyway, moving through the series, someone said, what if Sherry didn't ask to see Gigi? They never would have gone to Paris. And do you think that they would have gotten married?
Ooh.
Because I wonder if the setting for everything really provided the impetus for them to feel like, oh, we need to get, like, it's just everything's so romantic. Let's get married now.
Yeah, there was an element to that. There was also the element of, like, Lorelai wanted to go elope. And so they eloped in Paris. And it would have felt too similar for them to elope in the U.S., I feel like. Like, oh, I hear you can get eloped in Maryland. So I think that would have been too similar. But
yeah,
I think that maybe they would have had a failed engagement. I don't think that they would have gotten married.
Because well, like, someone else asked what would have happened if Lorelai didn't marry Chris in Paris, they just got engaged.
I think that part of it is like, if like the option is failed engagement, like a third one for Lorelai, or it's a little bit giving the 4 engagement rings of Sybil Rain.
I know.
That
truly.
Like I think that getting married kind of shifted that a little bit, so that like when she got divorced, it felt like more final. But yeah, I think I could have, I'm going to take it back. I think I would have preferred that, actually. I think for them to get engaged. Mostly because fake Paris didn't feel like worthwhile. Like that storyline really was just to get them to Paris. We didn't see Sherry. We talked about, or we talk about a lot next week in that episode about rewriting Sherry's involvement in that episode. Once Gigi is like out of the cold open, we don't see her again.
We literally never see her again.
It really is just them in Paris at that point. So I think it could have been a much more interesting storyline to keep them in the US and just get engaged, and Emily be planning their wedding in a way that she was not able to with her engagement to Luke. I think that would have been interesting. So yeah, no Paris.
You know, I'm wavering on how I feel about them getting just engaged in Paris.
Yeah, I'm just deleting Paris entirely.
Yeah, delete a Paris.
Delete a Paris.
I just think that, like, I've always stood by this, that like these two in the narrative needed to see what their relationship could be and what their marriage could be in order to recognize that it was never going to work.
Yeah.
Not that Lorelai was pining for Chris during her relationship with Luke. I really don't think she was at all.
Not even one time.
But once that crumbled and fell apart, it was like, oh, there's this other person that has always been here. Maybe this is my person, because they've always been there. Why wouldn't it be Chris?
Yeah.
But to that end, the last one that I want to read is, what if Chris came to the hospital in I'd Rather Be in Philadelphia and supported Lorelai more in their marriage? And I do wonder what we would have thought as an audience about Chris had he shown up and been a supportive husband and hadn't been like his little temper tantrum Christopher self throughout, you know, the majority of like the latter half of their relationship in season 7 that made us want Lorelai to leave. Yeah, would we have been rooting for that relationship to end if the relationship in and of itself was fine? If he wasn't jealous of Luke, if he was like, hey, look, like this guy's in your life. I can't, you know, I'm not going to stop you from having him in your life because I feel really confident about where we're at. Like, what would that have looked like for that relationship to have ultimately fallen apart if that's where we're headed, for her to end up with Luke? Did it need to have conflict? Did it need to have problems? Or would it have been better if Lorelai realized, like, you're great. It's not about you. It's that, like, I just... Again, we land at the same conclusion. You're the man I want to want. But Chris doesn't have to have a fucking temper tantrum on the way there.
I actually think I would have liked it more. Because really the moment that everyone is like, done with Chris is at the hospital. I would love to hear anyone who, like, when Chris doesn't show up, that like you're like still kind of rooting for him, that like you think that he could be better when he doesn't show up to Richard being in the hospital. Because that's it. You're like, we're actually done. And like the way that he talks to Rory versus talking to Lorelai is like completely egregious.
Egregious.
But yeah, if he was supportive, I'm gonna like reference like fan fiction days. There was nothing more devastating for a story than like if like say like Rory and Logan weren't together and like Rory was with someone else, and the way that Rory and Logan got together is because Rory's boyfriend cheated on her, and you're just like, well, that was way too easy. Like now she feels betrayed and she's gonna go be with her one true love. It's like you need to like give people like the agency to make these changes themselves. Otherwise, I feel like they mean less. And so like in this case, I feel like Chris being the one to like be so threatened by Luke that ends the relationship kind of steers towards that of like they didn't even have a chance. He like didn't even give them the opportunity to have a marriage. He was too jealous and like kept being like, this isn't all in my head. And you're like, we're all like, yes, it is.
It actually
like she has done nothing.
Is. She hasn't done anything to make you or us feel like you're being lied to.
Yeah. And so I feel like it's kind of like Chris kind of feels like she's cheating in some way, but she's not.
Yeah.
Like when she was like, it was just a letter. It read like a love letter.
A love letter.
Like the way that he said that, like it's just like, oh, like after she writes, he of course reads the character reference and he says it reads like a love letter.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I didn't write a love letter to the court. Dear court, love Lorelai. Like, imagine writing a love letter to your ex via the law.
Via George Bell, the bailiff.
Professor Bell. My favorite part of that episode is that he's still billed as Professor Bell. But
moonlighting as a bailiff.
You know, he's got to make ends meet. Like, or he's got passions. I like to believe he has passions. Or he's doing some sort of research project.
Something.
Whatever.
It's very immersive.
Whatever that man needs. It's very immersive. He's undercover. He's been an undercover cop this whole time. Like he's like a secret agent. He's a secret spy. I watched Cars 2 recently, so very into secret
of course.
spies.
She's very into secret spies. You know what movie I watched recently was Hitman with
Oh, how was that?
I actually thought it was quite terrible, but it has a very high percentage rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and I love Glenn Powell.
Wait, Glenn Powell. Oh, I'm thinking of Fall Guy.
Oh, different.
The Ryan Gosling one.
Oh.
Emily Blunt.
Different. Yeah, no, this was Hitman. And, you know, the first half of the movie, I was like, I'm on board. And then the second half of the movie, I was like, where are we going with this?
Off board.
It is certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm like,
really?
all right, y'all. Brett and I both looked at each
Glenn.
other and we're kind of like, I love him. I would watch him do anything. I liked it more than Brett did,
like,
which is saying something.
I did watch him do anything.
And I did. I thought his characters were really fun. Anyway, the reason I bring that up is because he's like, he's working for the police in the evenings. And he's like a teacher. He's a professor by day. And so I was like, Professor Bell.
Professor Bell.
Glenn Powell.
I get them
one and the same
all the time.
Anyway.
Honestly, would you rather have dinner with Professor Bell or Glenn Powell?
Oh, Glenn Powell.
Really?
Sorry, Professor Bell. Like,
I think I'd rather have dinner with Professor Bell. I feel
Really?
like he's much better stories. I think we'd have a great time.
Oh, I'm not denying I'd have a great time with Professor Bell, but have you seen Glenn Powell?
You're engaged.
I'm an engaged woman, and I will never forget that.
I'm gonna choose.
But
Professor
I would still have dinner with Glenn Powell and just be like, tell me
and
about yourself, Glenn.
I'll call you and ask why he was working in the mediation that day.
Yeah.
Or I'll call and tell you.
But circling back to, you know, the Luke and the Christopher and the Lorelai love triangle here, I really think that
where we
would have.
What was the question?
It was about Chris and him being a supportive.
Oh, right,
partner.
right. Okay.
I
Yes,
think
because
that-
the love letter. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm back on board.
I think that dear court, I think that it would have been a lot more complicated and we would have gotten that layer cake instead of a sheet cake if it wasn't as simple as just like Chris is jealous of Luke. Luke and Christopher hate each other and are randomly fighting in the street. We don't ever really talk about it again. And like Chris is just reading as this jealous, angry husband who doesn't trust Lorelai all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And it just, and Lorelai's not doing anything, in my opinion, like I said, to lead us or him to believe that he's right about that he can't trust her. She seems all in on him until all of a sudden she's not. And it's like, I understand why. It's just when she says to him, "You're the man I want to want," she basically really confirms for him that your fears and like what you think are not untrue. Like,
yeah, this whole time she was like not putting up a front, but like she wasn't all in on this.
It made her realize like, oh, I really wasn't ready for this. And they kind of talk about that, you know, and he acknowledges like, I pushed you. And I think had he been patient with her, I think had he been more like, I am all in, which may not be in Christopher's nature. I think he would have been all in on her no matter what. Had Luke not been in the picture, had they not had the history they did, maybe had Luke not gone and punched him in the face, who's to say?
You know, that really got it. That really kicked it off. Punched it off.
It really did. Punched it off. So I don't know. I really don't, because I don't know if it would have changed too much about whether or not we root for Chris, but I think it would have added a lot of layers to the story if Chris was showing up as a supportive husband and essentially doing everything right. He's just not the right guy.
Yeah, I really would have loved to have seen how they were going to show that. I also think it would have helped us to accept more that Lorelai wasn't all in, which like I think that Chris says something along those lines, because I know that that's like a famous Luke line, but like Chris says something similar at the beginning of season 7 when he's in the kitchen after he takes Rory to dinner. I forget exactly what it was. I think it was in Lorelai's first cotillion that he says it. But that he's like, basically, he's here. He's in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
And he's going to wait for her. I would have loved to have seen what that looked like, because I feel like Chris from season 6 had the capacity to do it. Like, he could have done it. And I would have loved to see more of Lorelai's struggle with that and realizing that like this just wasn't the right person and why.
Yeah.
Like, because like we can see why in season 7, but like I would have loved to see why this wasn't the right choice if he was showing up in all the right ways.
Yeah. Again, I would have loved for it to be more complicated and nuanced and not have relied on everything season 6 gave us to just like
and
guide us through.
And I don't want any sort of like cheating or anything like that. No. But I would have loved to see her like have an interest in Luke that didn't just come from nowhere, which like, again, we talk about a lot next week, that like a lot of season 7 is relying on our previous understanding of these characters and previous affection for them, that like it feels like, oh yeah, everyone wants Luke and Lorelai to be together. So when it starts to kind of bloom again, no one's going to have any qualms with it because it's been happening for the last 6 seasons.
Right.
When we don't really see any reason as to why it would come up then. But yeah, I would love to see why she ends up with Luke, why he's the right guy without one of the guys just being fucking awful.
Yeah.
He was. As it turns out.
Unfortunately, that is what we got. But anyway, I'd love to play you a little voicemail.
Okay.
To really wrap this up before we get into the what ifs and kind of rewriting as we do in the next episode. So let's hear from our bestie, Elaine.
Hi, besties. My name is Lane, and I've so enjoyed listening to Gilmore Revisited on Patreon. But now that you're done with season 7, I want to know, what's your fan fiction season 8? Because we both know that Amy and the new showrunners wanted it to continue. So what would we have seen? If we stick with the canon finale, then we'd at least see a little bit of Rory on the campaign trail. Or if we start from scratch completely, maybe it would have taken her an extra year to graduate after the time off in season 6. Would we see some of the revival plot lines, like Luke and Lorelai trying to have another kid? Maybe that comes back from tour, and with that comes a lot of new opportunity for Hep Alien. Really, just where do you think our characters would have ended up if they had an extra year to grow? I can't wait to hear your thoughts on Revival soon. Bye!
My goodness. I hadn't even thought about that
I
yet.
know, we hadn't really talked about that in this evaluation of season 7 and analysis. We've really like gotten into the nitty gritty about what we would change, and we'll get into that next week. But I'm curious just your initial thoughts on what a season 8 would have looked like. Because as we talked about extensively in last week's episode, this was the finale. Like this must have been the week before when we covered Bon Voyage. I just feel like this was the finale. They had to know they weren't getting a season 8. But if they really thought there was a possibility that they would, what would it have looked like? And I think that the answer on the Amy front is so different, because I don't know how she would have ended this in season 7 if this was the last season. I think that had she gotten what she wanted, we would have gotten 2 more seasons from her. And the story would have been very different. She clearly ended season 6 the way that she did. That was the intention. She was going to pull at that thread and figure out how everything, like the can of worms, was put back into the can with Lorelai and Chris and Luke.
They're out. They don't come back in.
They're out. I don't know if they come back in. It's like herding cats. But I think that when it comes to these showrunners, I don't know what they would have done with Rory's character, with Logan. I guess we would have seen Lorelai and Luke. Maybe they would have attempted to have, to start building their next chapter of their lives together now that Rory, like for all intents and purposes, Lorelai really is an empty nester, and, Luke navigating everything with April. Would they have just been like co-parenting with Anna? Like, I just don't know what they would have done. Do you have any knee-jerk reactions to that?
I have a couple. So I think that had it been an Amy situation, I think that it probably would have been like a seasons long getting Luke and Lorelai back together. I don't think that that was like a wrong impulse from the season 7 writers. Like, I think that makes sense. I think especially given that she slept with someone else, we need time. We need time to like adjust to almost like backtracking, but like going forward, that like we got to get over this. Like, the audience, the characters, we all have to ease back into this. And I think it probably would have been a seasons long journey. So for Luke and Lorelai, I feel like it probably would have been a season 8, would have been the first couple episodes a little bit more courting, probably playing a little coy. This is like maybe if like famously we think that it would have been better if they didn't kiss, if like the tension would have just existed there. And the promise of more was on the way. And then in season 8, we get the promise of more. And so maybe like their first kiss and like, I think that once they finally hit that point of like first kiss, first time together, like everything back together, I think they would have come back like guns ablazing, like they never broke up.
Right.
And I do like the idea of that maybe they were exploring the option of more kids, because Rory is gone, because April is only part-time his. Part-time custody. So I think that would have been like an interesting sort of storyline. I think that maybe we would have had some drama, like with Emily wanting the spa, like that ultimately comes up in the revival. So like I don't see that being too far from where like it could have ended up in season 8. Where it really deviates for me is Rory, because I don't know if Amy would have had her going out on Barack Obama's parade tour. But ultimately he does get elected president.
I know.
So like, how does that play into it?
I know.
Because like 2007 to 2008, like he wouldn't have like won the election yet,
but then he would have.
But he would have later that year. So like it kind of would have, I guess this would have ended in May, so we wouldn't like we wouldn't have like any of like the huge sort of movement in his campaign yet. But he was very successful up until that point. So I would have been interested as to how Rory fared on that, because I don't necessarily think it would have been super interesting for Rory's storyline, that's hard to say, to become very political in nature.
I agree.
And I don't even think it has to be necessarily very like seriously political, but I just mean in the sense of like, I'm thinking like Veep, like everything.
Sure.
It's like a comedy of errors in terms of like the politics and the newspaper aspect of like being surrounded by journalists who are all reporting on the same thing or similar things because they're all on his parade tour. So I wonder how that would have played out. That's the biggest question for me, because I don't know that Amy would have had Rory doing that.
No. And with her season 8, I again think we would be looking at something very different. But I'm going to say something really blunt and probably a little mean. I think that had these writers carried out season 8, if they had been picked up for another season, I think it would have been worse than season 7.
I think so too. I'm like kind of rewriting this in the hopes that like it ain't so bad. I think they would have lost the plot completely.
Exactly, because like admittedly, and I give them their flowers for this, the finale was great.
Yeah.
So how you then pick
great.
that?
It was really good.
It was good. The finale was a good finale, considering everything that we witnessed in season 7. To then pick it up and continue the story from there, I think would have been a mistake. I think would have just been, again, more like alternate universe Stars Hollow, that I just don't know that we needed to see that.
Yeah. Well, here's the other part of this is I was like, oh, what if they did a time jump? That would have also been confusing though, because Rory would have been on the campaign trail and we would have had to confirm or deny if he was
Barack Obama
pregnant.
was president. Yeah.
I just said pregnant.
Oops.
If he was president. Oh my gosh. All my words are falling off right now. But yeah. So I was like immediately was like, oh, well, let's save it because you can't jump off from that point. And maybe they could have fixed it a little bit with a time jump. That would have been confusing.
Very.
Maybe they just never touched on it.
Or they never talk about it. Yeah.
They like almost to like a joke, never mention who the president is.
Yeah. Maybe.
Or there's no more presidents. Monarchy now. Rory, something happened on that campaign trail with Rory Gilmore.
Yeah.
She's the queen of America now.
Exactly. Ice cream queen.
She's the ice cream queen of America.
Queen of America by night.
No, I don't know. And I think that's the only reason a time jump would have been odd, is because that's where she was headed. And like the only way for us to know is just like, wait, what, like 5 more months? But I think, taking that aside, I think that in an Amy season 7 to season 8, I think we could have seen a time jump. I also like the idea, I'm all over the place right now, of Rory being on the campaign trail and reconnecting with Logan in that way. The whole idea in the revival that we just saw was that he saw her in Hamburg. Like that was what you were wearing then. And it was like, maybe this is what she was wearing when he saw her in Boise.
Yeah, I think that it could have given her an opportunity to, maybe even reconnect with Jess too. Like if she's on the campaign trail, being in Philadelphia. But I don't know. But I think on the whole, I don't think a season 8 from these writers would have been fulfilling. And I don't know what storyline they would have pulled out, because again, as I've said, up, down, and sideways, they relied so heavily on what Amy gave us in the first 6 seasons, but specifically season 6 to carry us through season 7. If we were relying on season 7 to carry us through a season 8 in this world, that's not a Gilmore Girls I think I want to see, respectfully.
I would watch it, but is it one I want to see? Probably actually yes, but I wouldn't super enjoy it. I'd probably enjoy it as much as I enjoyed 7, but like to that effect, I keep forgetting that these are the writers that would be writing a season 8 and not Amy. Yeah. Because the only way an 8 would truly exist, in my opinion, like if they had a season 8, after telling Amy she couldn't have a season 8, what a slap in the face. I'm glad
that would have
been
really tough. Yeah.
So like in my mind, 8 really is an Amy 8. And in my thought process there is that it ends the same way the revival does. Like that was the intention the whole time. She needed 8 seasons to tell the story according to her. And that's what we're building towards. And so I think that's why I'm like thinking like she's on the campaign trail. She has to reconnect with Logan at some point. But I do love the idea of the love triangle of Logan. Ever since who was the bestie? Was it Emma that called in mentioning her sleeping with Jess? Like ever since that moment, I was like, let's bring Jess back. Let's do a love triangle.
I know. Because like seeing them in Balalikas in season 6 was so deliciously.
He's great. And like, we haven't gotten to him in the revival yet, but like,
we're excited.
I'm excited.
You're a Team Jess girl. I know it in my heart.
I'm not. Don't say rude things about me.
It's not rude. It's facts.
It's not facts.
I think it's a fact.
No.
Anyway,
if we go back to season 5.
Well, when we're in season 2 and we're watching that together for Patreon, that's going to be.
Everyone can be season 2 Team Jess. Like, it's not that hard. Logan's not even there yet. He's not even a thought in the sky.
That's true. I don't know. We'll see.
Anyway,
next week's episode is our What If episode. It's really about us rewriting season 7. I know we covered some what ifs at the beginning of this episode, but I have some more voicemails I want to play for you, but I would like to save them because we're going to do a couple of Gilmore to Considers after our What If episode. So I'm excited to get into that. But next week, we'll do a little rewrite of season 7.
And we'll have more to say on that in the next episode.